Right, hello everyone and welcome to this new video on the channel. So today I am going to be reacting to my League One predictions that I made before the start of the season. So I always love looking back and doing these, looking at which ones I got spot on and which ones I got horribly wrong. So as per usual, the way I do this is I go for scoring system. So basically the aim is to get the least amount of points possible. So basically you're getting a point for every place out you are. So for example, if I get a team spot on, then I get 0 points. If I get a team, say I predict them to finish in 15th and they finished 17th, I'll get 2 points, and so on. So without further ado, let's get into these predictions. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to go from my predictions from bottom to top, and we're going to see how we did compared to the normal tables and how many points I will be getting, or if I'll be getting none at all. So let's start off with bottom of the league then, and at the bottom I predicted Cheltenham Town to finish 24th. So they actually finished in 21st this season, which means that is 3 points to me. So to be fair, at the start of the season, I thought I was going to get this spot on. I think it was something like the first 10 games they went by and didn't score a single goal, never mind points. But they did improve as the season went on, and they very, very nearly survived. However, they just didn't have enough to get over the line. So, not a bad one from me. Still predicted them to go down, and they did go down. However, this next team that I predicted to go down didn't go down, and that is Cambridge United, who I predicted in 23rd. So they ended up finishing in 18th place, which means I get 5 points for my prediction of Cambridge United. They actually started the season pretty well and then just went downhill a bit, appointing Neil Harris before he went off to Millwall, and then getting Gary Monkin for the end of the season, and they managed to survive on the last day of the season. But to be honest with you, they never really looked in trouble on the last day. They had a few spells where they were on the brink of dropping into the relegation zone, but in the end they did survive pretty comfortably. In 22nd place, I predicted Port Vale, who ended up finishing a place lower in 23rd, which means 1 point to me. Pretty happy with this one, to be fair. Like I say, they did go down, and yeah, it's not been a great season for Port Vale. They've made a ridiculous decision to give Darren Moore a 5-year contract, so only 4.5 years to go on that contract for Darren. He must have some agent I'm telling you about. But yeah, it's been a poor season for Port Vale, and yeah, managed to just slip down the table and eventually finished second bottom. And the final team that I predicted to go down were Fleetwood Town, and they did. I predicted them in 21st, they finished 22nd, so once again 1 point to me. I had these, to be fair, when I did my original table, I had these finishing bottom. I think the chairman had just been sentenced to 13 years in prison for fraud, and a lot of unknowns, to be fair, with Fleetwood. Like I say, getting Scott Brown in as the manager and then sacking him and finishing the season with Charlie Adam. And yeah, to be fair, they put up a good fight, but in the end, you know, the poor start and poor finish to the season did let them down, to be fair. So pretty happy with that in all to start off with. 3 of the 4 teams that went down I predicted to go down. Just Carlisle United, who I didn't predict to go down, who did. So we'll find out where I place them very soon. In 20th position, I predicted Northampton Town, who ended up finishing in 14th place. So about 6 points for me. However, I am pretty happy with this because I was one of the only people who did predict Northampton to stay up, and they did. Really have exceeded everyone's expectations this season. Northampton had a really, really good first season back up in League 2, and like I say, they've kept a lot of that squad that took them up to League 2, and they've added it to it as well. I mean, Sam Hoskins obviously we were able to keep hold of, and yeah, like I say, exceeded everyone's expectations and finished mid-table. And next up, we have got my first team that I got spot on, which was Shrewsbury Town, who I predicted 19th and finished 19th. So a perfect score from me of 0. And yeah, they were, like I say, the start of the season a lot higher than this, and they have dropped down as the season's gone on. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how Shrewsbury do next year. Because like I say, it's going to be a tough League One, so they'll be hoping that they can have a good year and survive once again. In 18th place, I predicted Carlisle United, who ended up finishing rock bottom in 24th, so 6 points for myself, and they just didn't have the quality in the end to survive, unfortunately. Like I say, they had a good season in League 2, where I don't think a lot of people expected them to finish in the playoffs and go up, and I thought they'd kind of carry that momentum into the season, but unfortunately for them it weren't enough, and they just didn't have enough quality in the end, and they'll be playing League 2 football next season. In 17th, another team who got promoted but did have the quality to exceed them expectations is Stevenage, who ended up finishing in 9th place, so that is 8 points for myself. A big blow there for underestimating Stevenage, but to be fair, I think a lot of people did as well, and Steve Evans really shows his shithouse football tactics do work. Whether you like him or dislike him as a person, he knows how to get results, and he is going to be a big miss for him. They look like at one point they were going to be pushing for them playoff places, but they just ran out of steam in the end. And now, like I say, Steve Evans will be playing against them next season with Rotherham United, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep this going without Evans, or if they're going to fall down the table. In 16th place, I predicted Burton Albion, who ended up finishing in 20th, so 4 points for me. They're always one of them teams, Burton. They either really struggle at the start of the season, then go on a really weird run of form and survive, or they'll do pretty well in the season and then they'll have a horrible run towards the end of the season and just survive. And they've done that this season. They look like they were going to be clear and safe, and then, like I say, results just haven't gone for them, and they have slipped down the table and just narrowly survived the drop. I thought they were down. I thought Cheltenham were going to overtake them, but nevertheless, they have survived. I think it is going to be tough for them next season. They've been one of them teams who have been on the line of relegation over the last few years, and there is only so long you can do that before you do eventually drop. In 15th place, I predicted Wigan Athletic, and they ended up finishing in 12th place, so 3 points for me. And when you look at it as a whole, it has been a superb season for Wigan. Obviously, they started with the points deduction. I believe they were 8 points at the start of the season, and they literally made that up straight away with a superb start to the season. And then, like I say, it's been a bit of a mixed one, but I believe if they didn't have the points deduction, they would have finished just outside of the playoff places. So when you think of it like that, a superb season for Wigan, kind of, just steadying the ship a bit, and then I'm sure we'll try and push on a bit next season. In 14th position, I predicted Bristol Rovers, and they ended up finishing in 15th, so 1 point for me. And they've kind of been one of them clubs since they've come back up to League One, like kind of, one of them teams you'd expect. They're not really going to be pushing for promotion, but we're not going to be in any trouble of going down as well, and that's been the same this year, kind of. Like I say, a 15th place finish, a solid mid-table season for Bristol Rovers. And in 13th, I had Exeter City, who, of course, finished in 13th position, so a perfect score of 0 for me on this one. And I'm quite pleased with this as well, because a lot of people had them down either getting relegated or just above the relegation zone, and it looked like that could have easily happened at the start of the season. And obviously Rovers doing bad, and I've never done Exeter. I wanted them to come down because it was a good chance to tick them off next season, but it looks like we could tick them off in League One potentially. And yeah, it's been a really good season for Exeter. Like I say, one of the smaller clubs in the division, and yeah, they've hit a really good run of form and managed to comfortably survive. Another pretty solid prediction here. In 12th place, I predicted Leyton Orient, who ended up finishing in 11th, so just a 1 point added to my total. And yeah, like I say, these won League 2 the season before, and they've carried that momentum on into League 1. A very good season overall, I'd say, for Leyton Orient. Richie Wellens, he's made them hard to beat, and yeah, I think, like I say, if you're a Leyton Orient fan, you would be very happy with 11th place finish in your first season back in League One. In 11th place, not a great prediction from me this one, I had Oxford United, who ended up finishing in 5th, so 6 points for me. I underestimated Oxford, to be fair. I mean, I'm pretty sure I made this before they made quite a few signings as well, and they've looked a really good team, Oxford, to be fair, this season. They started on fire with them and Pompey, quite a bit clear at the top of the table, and then they did have a drop in form, but at the right time of the season, they have picked up their form, and they've managed to get themselves a 5th place finish, and they've got Peterborough United in the playoffs. In 10th place, I predicted Wycombe Wanderers, who actually did finish in 10th place, so 0 points for me once again. I thought I was going to be quite a bit off with this one, because they were kind of like, quite far down the bottom half, and I even feared they could have gone down at one point, but Nevertheless, they have managed to pick it back up and secured themselves a 10th place finish, which, to be fair, after life after Ainsworth, especially when, you know, it has been a lot tougher, I think Wycombe would take that, to be fair. Overall, not a bad season at all for Wycombe. In 9th place, I predicted Lincoln City, who ended up finishing in 7th, so 2 points for me here. And, you know, I'm gutted for Lincoln. I really wanted them to make the playoffs. They had a really good run around February, March time, which actually got them into the playoffs, and then they slipped out, managed to get themselves back in on the second to last day of the season, and if they'd have won, they'd have got it. But of course, they were playing the league champions Portsmouth, and even though they had already won the league, it was never going to be an easy game. And yep, Lincoln just ended up missing out on the playoffs, unfortunately. So hopefully we can have a great season again next year and do one better. This one's a bit of a big hit for my points. In 8th place, I predicted Reading, who ended up finishing in 17th, so that is 9 points difference added on to my score. And this was before all the points deductions and all the issues. Obviously they had issues when they came down to League One, but no, it was, you know, it was hard to see this much of a downfall for Reading. I mean, I thought at one point they were doomed, absolutely doomed. Were a lot of points adrift of safety. They had, you know, protests every week. You know, things were getting ugly at Reading, and fair play to them. They have really managed to turn it around and got themselves a 17th position. And like I say, I think Reading fans will just be happy to be, you know, still a football club, to be honest with you. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do next year. Hopefully, like I say, they can get Di Young out of the club and they can, you know, start to move in the right direction again. And in 7th place, just missing out on the playoffs, I had Barnsley. However, they have just managed to get into the playoffs and finished in 6th place, so that is +1 for me. And yeah, after being so close to getting promoted last season, making the playoff final, I fancy, when I first did my predictions, I had Barnsley actually winning the league, but then a lot of changes happened. Michael Duff went off to Swansea. They lost quite a few of the players as well, and I thought they'd struggle a bit, to be fair. I thought, you know, it might be a bit of a rebuild project for Barnsley, and they might, you know, have a bit of an off-season and then really go for it the season after. But nevertheless, they have managed to grab themselves the final playoff spot, and they will play Bolton Wanderers in the playoffs. Okay, now moving into the playoffs then. In 6th place, I predicted Blackpool, who ended up finishing in 8th place, so that's 2 points for myself added to the total. And it was a hard one with Blackpool because obviously they came down from the Championship last season, and it's always hard to tell how they'll react. Like, will they go straight back up? Will, you know, they just keep falling, or, you know, will it take a season of like consolidation and then go for it the season after? And Blackpool have always been one of them teams this season where they've been close, but just not close enough. They've kind of been on the outskirts of the playoffs all season, and they just didn't have enough to get in them in the end. In 5th place, I predicted Portsmouth, who ended up going on to win the league, so that is 4 points for myself, and it's really been a superb season for Portsmouth. They started off on fire, you know, being at the top since pretty much the start of the season, and they've just never been knocked off, to be fair. They've just, you know, everyone's been saying they'll do a Portsmouth because the last few years, like I say, they've had strong starts, but then they've fallen off. But this season, they've just kept it going, and they've proven that they're not going to do, that Portsmouth aren't going to do a Portsmouth, and they have managed to clinch the title, and deservedly so, to fair. They are worthy champions this season. Like, no one's, you know, been able to get close to them. I know Derby and Bolton a few times, potential with the games in hand could have caught them, but they never capitalised on it. And yeah, worthy champions in my opinion. In 4th place, I predicted Peterborough United, who ended up finishing in 4th, so no points for me on this one. So overall, it's been a good season for Peterborough, a very, very mixed season. They started off well, getting into 2nd place, and it looked like they could have easily took that automatic promotion spot when Oxford started to slip down the table. But quite a lot of inconsistency around Christmas time, and they did slip down a bit. But they have managed to pick the form up quite a bit over the last month or so, and they have managed to secure themselves a 4th place finish. So in 3rd place, my score is going to take a massive hit here. I had Charlton Athletic just missing out on automatic promotion, and to be fair, they were lucky to miss out on relegation because they finished in 16th place, so that gives me 13 points onto my total, and it could have been a lot worse for Charlton, to be fair, because at one point we're looking like we were in some big danger of going down. However, Nathan Jones came in and he had a very good run of form and kind of took them away from that relegation zone and into safety. But I predicted we'd have a good season. It sounded like we'd sort quite a few of their issues out. Obviously, we've got Alfie Main, who I wasn't sure I would do. I knew we did well at Charlton, but it's always interesting. Are we going to be a one-man club, or will we be able to do it somewhere else? And he proved he could by winning the Golden Boot for League One. So yeah, it just didn't happen for Charlton, unfortunately, and unfortunately for my score, they couldn't get into anywhere near the playoffs. And to be fair, if it weren't for that run of form, they were pretty lucky to survive. So moving on to the top two, in second place I had Derby County, who did finish in second place, so no points once again for me. And it's been a superb turnaround for Derby. I mean, I remember when, you know, we were struggling to get in the playoffs and it looked like we were going to sack Paul Warren, but luckily they stuck with him and he managed to get them into that automatic spot. And Derby will be back in the Championship, which is great to see after the nearly went completely out of business. It's great to see him kind of like have last season to just have that time to build the squad and then really go for it this season. And they couldn't quite clinch a title, but I'm sure they won't mind about that because they will be playing Championship football next season. And finally, for the league winners, I had Bolton Wanderers, who ended up finishing in third place. And to be fair, they had some very good chances to not only get in the automatic spaces, but also put a lot of pressure onto Portsmouth. They had games in hand, but just couldn't capitalise on it, unfortunately, for them. And yeah, it's been a good season, nevertheless, for Bolton, I would say. And they're going to have to do it the hard way now through the playoffs. Once again, they have got Barnsley in the playoffs. And last time, Barnsley beat Bolton to get to Wembley. So Bolton are going to hope to do the reverse to Barnsley. Okay, so there we have it. That is my final League One prediction. So I will put my table just to the side of me so that you can see it in full here. So just going through a few of the results then. So in total, I ended on 78 points. So if you've done this for your predictions as well, let me know what score you got. Did you beat me or were you just behind me? Let me know in the comments what score you got, and also let me know how many you got correct and what your worst prediction was. So for me, I managed to get 5 correct, which I'm very happy with, and my worst were Charlton, who I predicted third and finished in 16th, so they got me 13 of them 78 points, which was a big blow to my total, but nevertheless I am pretty happy with that. And I'm going to be interested to see how I did with all the other leagues, so make sure that you do subscribe to the channel to see how I got on in all of the other leagues, and for some match day vlogs. We've got some playoff semi-finals coming up on the channel, so make sure you are subscribed for that. And if you could please like the video, it really does help the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. Also remember to follow my social media links at Adam Gittings PT on pretty much everything. So thank you very much for watching. I believe the next predictions video will be the National League ones, just in time for the playoff final this weekend. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.